Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over the rogue helmet known as the Cowl of the Nameless. The Cowl of the Nameless has undergone some pretty crazy changes in the 1.5.0 patch changes, and we're going to be talking about the Cowl of the Nameless and what it could potentially be good for. Buckle up, though, because this one's going to be a fun one. So we've got 41.5% to 55% increased crowd control duration. Crowd control duration is obviously going to be things like chill duration, freeze duration, stun duration, fear duration, and so forth and so on. So if you are building a build where you're trying to specifically get your crowd control as high as possible and make sure that the monsters stay frozen or chilled or stunned or whatever it is that you may be doing for the long period of time, then this is going to obviously help with that. And if you got a greater affix on here and masterworked this, you could probably get the crowd control duration to a pretty extreme level, to the point where the monsters are pretty much just standing there stupid for the most part. Personally, I'm not a big fan of crowd control stuff because it doesn't work on bosses. It's just a common theme across the entirety of Diablo 4 is that a lot of the stuff just doesn't really work on bosses. And so crowd control is just one of them. You can obviously stagger a boss. And maybe if this also somehow affected, say, stagger duration, that would be really interesting. Another thing that it has is a passive effect. So they actually updated this and they basically just put a bunch of passives on it, which is kind of crazy. So it has plus 1 to 2 rapid gambits. So let's go ahead and actually look at these. So we're going to go ahead and put one of these on so that we have access to the passives that it's giving us. That way we can see them easier. And as you can see here, we have plus 1 to rapid gambits, which is evading through a dazed enemy. An enemy dazes them for 2 seconds. Your evade cooldown is reduced by 0.25 seconds when you daze an enemy. So it's going to give you either 0.25 or a 0.50 cooldown reduction whenever you're dazing through the enemies. On top of this, the item also gives us plus 2 to unstable elixirs. Again, another passive. And we're going to take a look at unstable elixirs, which I'm pretty sure is... I'm trying to remember which one it is right off the top of my head. Why? Oh, the one that I have only has 1. I was looking at it and I was like, that's only plus 1. That's not correct. And sure enough, yeah, it was correct because the one I have in my inventory is 2. Now, granted, in general, and this brings up another topic, is that you would really probably want to have one of these helmets with 2, 2, 2, maybe even preferably with greater affixes across the board. If you had a greater affix, crowd control duration, greater affix, rapid gambits, greater affix, unstable elixirs, and greater affix, trick attacks. It would definitely be a lot stronger because you'd be getting like 3 in each passive, which is pretty hot. But as you can see here, unstable elixirs is using a healing potion stuns surrounding enemies for 2 seconds and increases your damage by 6% times for 10 seconds. So every time you use a potion, you get a multiplier. Now, they did recently add an aspect that kind of like ties into this, and let's go take a look at this real quick, because the aspect basically just involves like getting free potions all the time. And you might think, well, a multiplier when I use a potion isn't really that big of a deal, because of course I don't really have infinite potions. But basically what this aspect does is it does in fact give you infinite potions for the most part, in a roundabout way. And let's pull it up real quick so we can show you. So let's go to Codex, and we're going to go to a potion. And we have the using a healing potion makes free Dark Shroud Shadow. Each Dark Shroud Shadow grants 4% increased damage reduction. You may now drink a potion while you're at full life. Also, using a healing potion grants 15% increased movement speed for 3 seconds, and you now may drink a potion while they're at full life. And every 20 meters you travel, you also spawn an additional healing potion. So as you can see here, we also have the aspect of Siphon Victuals, which is lucky hit, damaging a vulnerable enemy with a non-basic skill, has up to a 20% chance to drop a healing potion. So they basically give you like a whole bunch of ways to get kind of like infinite healing potions with this particular item. And obviously, if you have like a plus 3 unstable elixirs, plus the plus 3 that you currently have, you're looking at 6 times 6, which is going to give you a pretty nice bonus damage every single time you're using a potion. You're just going to get a very nice little bonus damage. you know, 2 would be 12. You got 4 would be 24, and you got 6 would be, what is that? 48, 48%, right? Am I got that right? So let me just do the quick math. So 6 times 6. No, 6 times 6. 36. So we got 36%.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
So a 36% multiplier, basically, if you had like a +3, and then you also put 3 points into this, which isn't terrible. We've also got Trick Attacks, which is the other one on here. Trick Attacks is in the same category. So Trick Attacks is dazing or stunning an enemy increases your critical strike chance by 2% and critical strike damage by 2% times for 5 seconds, both up to 12% times. Sorry, I think I got a chinchilla fluff in my throat. They just kind of float by like feathers. Like it's crazy. Their fur is so soft and so fluffy. It's like feathers. So as you can see here, we got a lot of stuff that involves crowd controls. Obviously, rapid gambits involves dazing enemies when you evade through them. Trick attacks is dazing or stunning enemies, increases your critical strike chance. So rapid gambits feeds into trick attacks because it allows you to daze enemies by dashing through them, and trick attacks gives you a bonus for dazing the enemies. On top of this, we also have the unstable elixirs giving us a stun to surrounding enemies and a damage bump, and that stun also in turn beefs up trick attacks. So the entire idea of this particular helmet seems to be enhancing trick attacks as much as humanly possible, giving you tons of damage bonuses, critical strike chance bonuses, and also critical strike damage bonuses through the use of these passive effects. You know, if you had a really nice one with 3 to all 3 of these passives, I could see it being a pretty beast little helmet. I'm not really entirely sure if it's going to compete with, say, like Harlequin Crest Shaco, Andariel's Visage. You know, like there's a lot of other helmets in the game that are pretty darn beast at this point, and so the Cowl of the Nameless has some stiff competition. It also has another effect on it, which is you gain a 40% times increased lucky hit chance against crowd-controlled enemies, which of course makes sense because the entire helmet is now based around dazes and stuns, and also gives you a crowd control duration, so you get a huge lucky hit bonus as well on top of all of the passive bonuses that you're giving you. And just putting the helmet on is going to give you a lot of additional stuns and dazes as well, just right off the bat. Because every time you use a potion, you're going to stun everything around you, and every time you dash through the monsters, you're going to stun everything around you, or daze everything around you, basically. And you can see some of this in the training room. I mean, let's go into the training room quick and we'll play with some of this stuff. So, like, for instance, if I dash through the monster, you'll see that the dumb monster became dazed. So just instantaneous dazes whenever you do that. Also, if you use a potion near the monster becomes stunned. So this entire thing is basically just, you know, around the idea of a massively large number of crowd control effects, which are going to obviously keep proccing all the time. Every time you dash, you get a daze. Every time you use a potion, you get a stun. And trick attacks takes advantage of both the stun and the daze, and so your trick attacks should be active pretty much all of the time, basically at any point. And of course, you can even use the potions while you're at full health, which means that you can apply these stuns repeatedly until you run out of potions. And if you're using any of those aspects that give you additional potions, I mean, it would be an interesting way to just add in other effects. The special flavor text on this particular item is: he is banished from the guild, his name stricken from the book, his punishment is to have never been. Excerpt from a burned parchment. Now, when it comes to this particular item, you can pick it up in very specific places. So let's pull up the target farming tool, and we're going to pull up Rogue. If you ever want to use this, it's on Diablo 4.life. Tools, target farming uniques. And we're going to click on Rogue, and then Cowl of the Nameless. And that's going to tell us that this one in particular comes from Duriel the Maggot King and Andariel Maiden of Anguish. So if you're trying to farm this specifically, and you want to try and get like maybe that sexy, quad greater affix version of this to get really good crowd control duration, rapid gambits, unstable elixirs, and trick attacks. You're going to need to go to Tormented Duriel and Tormented Andariel because they have the best chance to drop the greater affix versions. All in all, I'm not entirely impressed with this particular helmet, although the changes to it have given it more of a unique identity over some of the others. The increased lucky hit chance is definitely massive, but there are other items in the game, cough, cough, fist of fate, cough, cough, that have even better lucky hit bonuses without any, like attachments, like damage on Tuesdays kind of a thing going on. I mean, I think if you get like a greater affix fist of fate these days, it goes above 100% bonus, which is kind of crazy. But all in all, I think this helmet does exactly what it was designed to do well, which is take advantage of trick attacks and give you a large amount of passive bonuses to those abilities that are going to obviously feed into the trick attack cycle. And you can, of course, put points into those abilities yourself, and you can also take advantage of them through other ways. I do believe that there's even passive bonuses that you can get on the Timber board. Let's go take a look real quick and see if any of these are also on the temper window, because that could be another way that you could stack these, well, even higher, right? I do believe some of these have actually been getting taken off of the temper window because of how freaking broken they've been. So what we're looking for is what? Trick attacks, unstable elixirs, and rapid gambit. Innervation. I just want to take a quick look and see if any of these exist on this panel. Second wind and aftermath. Aftermath is really good. And I don't really see these passives on here anymore, and it could just be because eventually they were taken off. I do remember reading something, I think, about, like, it was at least trick attacks got taken off the temper board. And so this might be the only way to get access to these specific ones now, especially with 3, 3, and 3. Hmm. Anyway, as always, I'd appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun little videos, especially when we're just going over something like Cowl of the Nameless. If you do enjoy the content, please be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button because it really helps out the channel. And say hi to Mr. Dusty Bones. He's hanging out with me all day while I'm doing my videos today. Isn't that right, Dusty? Yeah. He's being a good boy. Did you being the goodest? He said, no, don't do that. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.